Hey, so this is an RPG video. This is a video I've been thinking about. I've been thinking about this topic for quite some time, and so I'm sorry. Um, it's somehow a video response for Runeslinger and not Inquisitor. So I read recently. Well, recently it depends, but I read on the Facebook group a question from the Inquisitor talking about prep versus improv style of GMing, and which one is the best, which one do you prefer, and all that. And this is an old ass question. This is old. This is like a resurrection from the ashes from the first men. So it's old. I remember one of the first video I watched on YouTube was about this topic. So anyway, man, the it's old, but it's good. It's the good stuff. I uh, I don't prep anymore since I started in February to play Burning Wheel, and I've had to prep again. And that it was the first time I was, I was not preparing for game, and either as a player or as a GM doesn't matter. So this fact about my gaming started to generate some question, like wow, why prepping? Why and why I was like kind of forced to prep before. Now I don't have to, and there's many reasons for this. First, when I started to GM, when I was prepping, is because I wanted to railroad, you know. I never thought about railroading because railroading is somehow a pejorative term. It's like bad, Railroading is kind of bad, so it's really pejorative. So I uh, I was not trying to railroad, but this is exactly what I was doing because I was prepping. So I was building encounters, building story, building NPCs with agendas and stuff, and so every time, my position used to be, when you prep, you're logically going to railroad because the stuff you prepare is the stuff you're about to use, which the player don't know about. So it's coming at them from everywhere, and it leads them somewhere. That's the very definition of railroad. And then I started to play Burning Wheel, where the engine, the game mechanic, supports the play. So you don't have to prep because the dice dictates the flow, dictates what's gonna happen. So I mean, you just need to have a little imagination on the fly to narrate what's happening, considering the result of the dice. And the narration, you cannot prep for Burning Wheel much because the narration turns around the table. It's like sometimes it's this guy that narrates the results, sometimes it's the GM, sometimes it's, so it's prepping becomes a little useless. So that's why I stopped prepping. And I have good gaming. I have amazing gaming because now what's going on is that I want to see where the actual game is gonna lead me. I want to see where the player is gonna lead me. I don't want to see where the GM is gonna lead me. I, I, I just curious to see how the dice are gonna fall and what's gonna happen from that. So it's like an emergent component. So it's not a sandbox because there is a story emerging from the different narration around the table. But that's Burning Wheel, so that's really that's really specific. That's really singular. So what do you do with your basic role playing games? Like whatever other role playing game that doesn't support that kind of mechanic. What do you do? Especially with a task base or your traditional RPG, whatever. Um, I don't know. I don't have this answer, but I was watching. So to answer Null Inquisitor's question, I prefer improv because improv assure me that there's going to be less railroad because the GM or the other people around the table are not going to be prepared. So it's going to be on the fly, which kind of stimulates me and makes me feel good about it. That's me, you know. I'm this kind of player. Kind of like have really a lot of picky needs like that. But considering Runeslinger though, is because that argument about prep I had with him, not an argument, but a discussion I had. I was like, you know what? When you prep, you railroad. And he was like, no, I prep and I don't railroad. And I'm like, it's impossible. You know, I was like, it's impossible. It's logical. It's language based, 101 linguistic. If you have a script, it's gonna come out. It's something that you're gonna be doing, and it's prepared in advance. Therefore, it fits the definition of railroading. And he was always pushing on that with something else. And I was watching this morning his video about villains, and make me think twice about this position. I now I have a new reflection about it, but basically it's like for him, he's gonna prepare stuff, but he's not gonna prepare agendas. He's not gonna prepare intentions. He's not gonna prepare a villain. He's just gonna prepare random people, and the player are gonna decide which one is the villain. I find it a little rhetorical at first. I was like, nah, come on, you're gonna act. These NPCs are gonna act a certain way, and the player are not gonna have any choice but to feel like this guy is the villain. So I was like, it's just another way around the definition. But at the same time, it's kind of true though. I mean, depending on the player action, if the GM is waiting to see the result of the choices, and the result of the player's action, he's not railroading, he's just reacting to the player. So it's really interesting nuance here between classic railroad or classic sandbox that Runeslinger is proposing. So I strongly recommend that video on villains. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to discuss a little bit about that. It's like, for me, improv is always going to be more interesting, because knowing that you come to the table unprepared makes for a way more funny experience for me, more interesting, and I feel more rewarded by what comes out, because I know it's not something that was prepared. But at the same time, I know that it can be really cool when you have a good writer, a good GM, to see what he has been preparing also as well. And I kind of want to go back to this recently. I was talking to Swamper this morning and was like, hey man, I want to try D&D 5. Why don't you introduce me to D&D 5? And I want to go back to this more really traditional way where the GM is writing a story and tells you, pretty much everything, and you just react to this. And so now it's interesting because it's almost like a video game. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna be like, okay, so what's gonna happen? Like what does he have in mind, kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to talk about. It's it struck me this morning watching this video about villains. So yes, yeah, that's it. Talk to you guys soon.